Good afternoon, morning, evening, night, whenever the hell you listen to us. This is Drunkscussions, and we're your hosts. I'm Paul,
I'm Connery.
and this is a hell of a day today. We have a fantastic guest from years ago that we get to rekindle our friendship over this. Everyone, please welcome Ben. We've known Ben. How long have you known us?
So I've known you, Paul, since
Yeah.
2015,
15?
16.
Yeah.
So about 7 years, and then me and Connor have known each other for about 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I just had a reflash. So remember last week, Paul, how I was talking about how I got written up for that guy that put a black dick in my hand, photoshopped it.
Yeah.
Oh my
That was
god!
Ben.
No,
That was Ben that did that.
it was someone I knew from Texas. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I was the one that made the connection. I posted
That's
the
right.
picture.
Yeah, I got in trouble for that. He was like, "Look at you sitting on the hood of this Toyota Corolla with a black dick in your hand." I was like, "I didn't do it. I just."
And our GM ripped me for that, which is funny because we had just had a conversation about talking about shrooms at the
Oh, yeah.
dealership, and he was super calm about that. But the black, he was furious.
No, yeah, Brian, he loved drugs, but the moment you touch a black person, he's like, "Oh, hold up, I'm racist." No, I'm kidding.
No,
He may be.
it was our GM. It was not our GS.
No, it's Todd. Oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
I was trying
Yeah.
not to name drop. But yeah,
They're not gonna know
No.
his last name. It's,
The
that's why they don't
fair-
do last names.
The Fairweather Hunter bought a $10,000 tree stand for the winter that had
I still remember him driving in with that fucking Tacoma, or no, it was a Tundra, and the whole Tundra bed is loaded up with this giant fake log that's hollow. And I was like, bro, this ain't gonna help you get a deer if you can't get one normally. Like, oh, I hate to break it to you.
But anyway, so for everyone that doesn't know, obviously you wouldn't. Ben and I, we've known each other. We went to school together. But back then, Ben was a whole other person. We'll talk about that later. But let's start off with the usual routine. Ben, what are you drinking on, buddy?
I am currently drinking on La Crema Purpura. It's a Spanish white. It's a little bit sweet, but mostly dry, and it has little to no sulfate, so you don't get that weird wine aftertaste.
Nice. I'm
Very
drinking on a Coors Latte. Paul, what are you drinking on?
We got our wine connoisseur, and then we got our bourbon connoisseur. And of course, I'm sticking with my normals. I'm going with Smoke Wagon, but this is the new straight rye whiskey. Fantastic.
Good looking bottle.
They're beautiful bottles. It's my favorite.
Oh, you upgraded glassware? Look at you.
My Glencairn.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Oh, he fancy is what we got in the comments. But anyways, guys, we've got a packed episode for you. Usual tangents included. But I guess let's go ahead and roll that intro.
What happened was we got caught up in a drunk discussion, and then he burned the bacon.
Where we talk about everything and know nothing.
You know what I mean? So it kind of seems like a win-win-win.
Here's Gerald.
Come
everybody, I'm dead.
Just draw a dick on it. It's not offensive. It's a dick. Everyone's got a dick nowadays.
Dude, tell me more, because I don't know anything about it.
Oh, a flapper's a 1920s dancer, you motherfucker.
Got a lot of bagels. I like my bagels. Chug 30.
Cheers. Salud. I mean, this shit's free, right? Monday morning. Chime on in. Discussions. And we are back. So, guys, we have a lot to talk about. This is a topic we really haven't ever touched. Paul and I, when we sat down and said, hey, let's touch drunk discussions, we were like, let's stay away from politics. Let's stay away from controversial things that involve politics, religion, race, whatever you name it. But we're amassing followings on the TikTok. So, and it's basically been about the political world. So, there's a fascinating world of campaign finance. We're going to dive into the wild, sometimes controversial world of donor dollars. Ben had a few talking points you want to talk about. I had a few that our AI friend made up as well.
And then I'm our emotional support drunk, and I'm here to drink away this conversation.
There we go. Your typical conversation may lead into tangents, but that's to be expected. But before we get into all that, Ben, we officially haven't caught up in over 5 years.
Oh my goodness, time's flown by.
Dude, you're a whole different person. You came from Ohio, and now you're in California, and you've lost a whole other person, dude. You look phenomenal.
Thank you.
Give me a little rundown. Why did you leave Ohio to California, and then what made you say, "Hey, I'm gonna lose a fuck ton of weight"? I gotta know, dude.
Yeah. So I moved to California back in May of 21. I had an opportunity to move out here. I had a place to stay, and prior to that, I had been visiting California. I want to say 3 times a year, and it was kind of a place for me to like. It was like a mental reset for me. I would go to Ohio. I'd be like drained. Come to California, would like recharge my batteries, and then I would return and drain again. During the pandemic, I came in like July of 2020, and the recharge was superb. And I came back to Ohio, and I felt like this is gonna sound stupid, but the vibes were off. Um, so I was like, why do I keep going to this place and then
Feeling
coming
like
back?
shit.
Exactly. And so I kind of made it my goal to move out here. I wasn't sure what I was gonna do. Then the opportunity came, I moved, and I was like, you know what? This is a new start for me. This is a new chapter. I want to make the most of this. And so I told myself, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I am going to do it. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to, focus on my personal well-being first and my physical well-being, and then everything else should, form around it.
I did. I mean, so real quick, how much weight did you lose?
So my heaviest weight was like a beginning of April of 21. I was 418. And then my lowest weight was July of 22. I was 215 and a half.
You lost a whole me.
Yeah, you lost me.
That is impressive. And did you find like a niche diet, or did you say I'm just going to eat cleaner? What did that look like?
Oh man, it's just kind of like, all right, I'm gonna cut out the soda. It's gonna be water only. All right, now let me cut out the fried foods, and then you just make steps. You don't have to make a drastic life change. Little steps that led me into the right direction. There was a point where I was on like a crazy diet where like I was eating only 1,800 calories a day and stuff, and then it became a goal of, okay, I've reached where I want to be. Let me just maintain this. So through exercise and through diet, here we are.
Do you think the food, like, because I've seen your snaps over the years, obviously, I see you making those delicious ass sandwiches and shit. Do you think the food out there is just better quality, in all honesty, or do you think we have just as good quality? We just don't know, like, the people here in the Midwest don't really give a shit to try to make food better.
I think there is a conscious effort in California to have like health oriented food. I feel like, I don't know if I grew up in Marion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's small town Ohio, so everything's fried and like the quality isn't the best. Here, there's like there's a bunch of health food stores. I can't think of even one between Marion and like Delaware City.
None.
No.
And so, to have those available to you, and then also the walkability out here. Like I can walk to the store. I can, walk around. I don't have to use my car every single day. You're adding steps to your daily, your everyday life. These little things, they might not seem like a lot, but when you add them up all together, it adds up to a healthier quality of life.
I mean, most people, if they're in Marion, the way they lose weight is meth. So I'm glad you didn't find that. So when
I was there.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're walking to a grocery store, you have more opportunities to buy meth than you do actually health food. So California, right? I would imagine basically every niche about California is, well, especially in the political world, is everyone's worried now that there's a lot of homeless people. There's there's just poor living conditions starting to happen. And a lot of people are saying it's definitely related to the liberal agenda, if you will. This is something that we really haven't talked about before, politics. But do you see that? Do you see a increased population of homeless people after the pandemic and all that?
In my area in particular, I don't. I'm pretty far out of downtown LA. I'm about 25 miles outside of downtown. I'm still in LA County, but
you got money. Okay.
No, still broke. But
Same.
Just a happier broke.
just a happier broke. There you go. I do see it when I go to LA. Like every single I think I go there probably once a month, and you notice there's more tents, there's more people. I would say it's a combination of political agenda, but at the same time, I think there's a lot more at play, especially here. I think there's a lot of people that want to be here, and that causes housing rates to go up. People are fighting for jobs, which means that they can pay less. While the state does a pretty good job at setting the bare minimum pretty high, I don't think it's enough to survive here.
Did you see an uptick in crisis after Silicon Valley Bank collapsed? The tech sector essentially start collapsing a little bit.
Not necessarily. So that's more NorCal, which is
Right.
it's like 6 hours away. But
Oh shit! I get that. Yeah, I didn't realize the time difference of travel. Like I live in Southwest Florida. It's 9 hours to go to the top of Florida. Like people are like, "Oh, Jacksonville's fucking crazy." I was like, "Yeah, I don't. That's
I don't know. I guess
fucking nuts." Yeah, sure.
I do have friends that I visited up in NorCal though. Since like all these tech companies have been going to fully remote, and I went one time in August of 21, and I went one time this past February. And it's a completely different city. It really is. There's entire parts of the city that are like ghost towns, apart from certain people that have no option but to be there. Yeah. I guess crime's gotten really bad in SF. I personally have not experienced it, so I can't speak on that. But it has gotten worse. A lot of businesses are closing down because they used to thrive on that lunch rush from the tech companies. And so you're seeing like the tech companies used to rely on the city, and the city used to rely on the tech companies. Once the tech companies left, it's a domino effect.
Right.
And it kind of like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Detroit did it with the motor industry or the automotive industry. San Francisco did it with tech. It's a bad bet to like bet on one industry to be your entire livelihood.
So Paul doesn't realize this, but do you believe seasonal depression is an actual thing?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that seasonal depression is a real thing. Paul, you don't believe that?
No, see, the problem here is I thrive on winter. Like I love the cold, I love the snow. So like my seasonal depression is like spring and fall when my allergies kick my ass. That's about it.
But that is seasonal depression then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not though. It's just because like, oh no, my eyes are watering and I have a runny nose, but it's pretty outside. So I'm not really, I don't know. I don't get seasonal depression. I'm not saying it's not a thing. It's just me. I like my seasons. I like the seasons and I love that shit. Like I'm trying to move to the mountains, honestly. Like I want to go to like Montana or Idaho or something, like for real.
Going off that, so you're telling me if you live in a place that was always cold, you don't think you'd be happier?
Absolutely, probably. If I moved to Alaska, I'd be a happy man.
So could you have like a reverse seasonal depression? Like you enjoy the cold?
Yeah. And then probably the summertime, I'm like, eh.
You put him down in Florida, and he's just depressed all the fucking time. He becomes a Florida man. Maybe that's what Florida man is.
They just like the winter. You could just take Florida men and move them to Alaska. Problem solved.
Problem solved.
What if they
fight moose? They fight moose instead of alligators.
Or they become successful. Maybe that is the key. Maybe DeSantis was onto something when he took all the immigrants and put them to Martha's Vineyard.
Fuck off.
By the way,
love touchy politics.
I don't know what happened recently, but produce prices have gotten so cheap here in California. They're saying there's like extra workers or something. They're putting up buildings everywhere, dude. It's crazy. Which is
17, 18, bro. 17, 18.
It's nuts, man. I honestly like. I don't know where all these migrants and these workers came from, but I am so grateful that our state is able to support them. You know,
fucker. What's funny is, so I've had a lot of. I'm in the construction industry in Southwest Florida, right? So, so for all of our listeners that don't know, Senate Bill 1718 just got pushed through, and it's going into effect July 1st. And essentially, if you're an undocumented worker, you're out. It's a slap with a felony. You're deported. No American citizenship. No chance to work in America ever again. So a lot of fucking immigrants, and mind you, our workers were documented. It's their wives. And
so how does that work? Because like, don't they go for the person that's at that job? They the documentation at that job. They don't do their family members based on what I've read. So like, why would they leave if they're legal but their wife or kids aren't? Like
it's an accessory charge is what it is. So like you're harboring an undocumented citizen. It would be like if I Yeah,
It's
go ahead.
also not that though. It is that, but it's also you got to think, why are they here in the first place? So they're trying to bring their family here, which requires money. So to the people that I've talked to, I asked him, I was like, your document, why are you leaving? And he was like, well, my wife works too, but she's scared to work now because if she gets deported, I'll have to go back to Mexico to be with my wife. Like that's like if Lauren went back to Australia or wherever the fuck she's from, or Tennessee,
Same
and
place.
I'd have to move to Tennessee. Yeah, I'd have to move to Tennessee. I don't want to fucking do that.
Bunch of shit wants to kill you.
Yeah, so they're doing it for money to bring the rest of the family here. Now, are undocumented workers illegal? Yes, but are they the absolute backbone to the entire country? Also, yes. There needs to be a healthy balance of having illegal undocumented workers because
they took our gerbs though. They took our gerbs.
My favorite thing.
Nobody wants to work.
Exactly.
My favorite
That's the thing I think is hilarious.
Is here in Southwest Florida, there's this TikToker who went to an unemployment office and he offered them jobs to work on a farm. And they were like, yeah, we'll take it. And then they didn't show up. Or they worked really slow. And then 6 hours in, they're like, well, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. Or if you asked him, he was like, hey, I've got a job for you. It pays $17 to $25 an hour. You're going to work on a vegetable farm, and the hours are 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. And they're like, I'm not fucking working those hours. I was like, in my eyes, that's the best time to work in Florida. The fucking heat sucks. But you've got all of these families that are down here, and now they're just like, I'm out, dude. I'm gone. And 86.4, and these are stats. 86.4% of the agricultural labor force is immigrants. Now, immigrants versus illegal immigrants, that's a different story. I don't have those stats, but you look at 86.4%, not all of them are documented properly. Now, a lot of people are like, well, you obviously haven't read the bill. You are incorrect. I have. 25 or more employees, right? So if you have a company that has 25 or more employees, they have to do an e-verification system. Now, typically, an e-verification system was pretty straightforward. We use it in our industry. The problem is it's actually pretty easy to get a document that will pass the e-verification system. The new system that they're putting out is a little bit more stringent, and it's going to cause a lot of issues. So it's words basically spread through the community that, hey, get the fuck out of here. Otherwise, you're no longer going to be allowed to be in America. So I've had crews go to, you called it Ben, California, but I've also had crews go to Texas. So those two states are about to see an increase in labor. Good for them.
Thank goodness.
Here,
come on up here to Ohio. We need all the help we can get.
But I've also seen videos that crack me up, and it's a bunch of Republicans bitching at the truck drivers because they're going on strike, not delivering food or gas to Florida, and they're like, hold up, I can't. The grocery store was empty. I'm pissed. It's because of these Democrats. I'm like, hold up, dude.
I love truckers, man.
You got to think about it, dude. When it comes to Florida's workforce,
that's a backbone right there. Is trucking industry.
Nail salons, hotels, grocery stores, truck drivers, construction industry. Essentially, anything that involves tourism is now gone. So I'd like to give it not to the Republicans, because yes, some of them were involved, but let's give it to DeSantis, the man who loves tourism, has officially killed it. Good for you, bud. You are in the stages. Clap, 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 clap. You are now in the stages of found out because you fucked around and now you're finding out.
So let me ask you guys both this thing. You're a man from Florida. We're both guys who hate Republicans too, and I hate both parties, but whatever. Do you think he's going to still run for president? Do you think he's going to run for president still?
Oh, absolutely. He's an egotistical narcissist. What are you talking about?
And he's going to make it.
I hope we get to we find out some dark shit about him throughout this deep dive, because every candidate has their light shined on them hardcore, and I just want to be like mid-election, all of a sudden we find out something about him. I'll love it. It'll be great.
So here, I'll give you something, and this isn't. If you're not in Florida, it doesn't impact you. But if he becomes president, it might impact you. I have a house. I am a homeowner here in Florida. I am one of the lucky few 28-year-olds in the world that have a house nowadays. And I have homeowners insurance. And my homeowners insurance, my premiums are $4,000 a year, which isn't awful. It's still a lot. It's not awful. It's no longer $4,000 a year. It is now $12,000 a year.
Excuse me?
Yep. And you're like, why did it go up? Well, that's a great question. Why don't we ask the man who accepted $2.9 million from the insurance industry for his campaign fund to run for president? The same person that's involved with insurance regulations in the state of Florida, DeSantis.
It's DeSantis.
Everyone, welcome DeSantis. He's not. No, I'm kidding.
How do they justify it? Do they say like it's just harder to find companies to do construction, or what?
No, it's harder to find insurance companies that are willing to cover in Florida because there has been. So 4 years ago, actually, it was less than that. About 3 years ago, the assignment of benefits, it's an AOB, was very prevalent and it was very rampant in the insurance world. So if you don't know what AOB is, an assignment of benefits gives the entirety of your claim. So say a hurricane happens, it gives the entirety. Yeah, it was. It gives the entirety of the insurance claim to the person that's going to represent them, whether that be a roofing company, a public adjuster, or an attorney. Now, a roofer or a public adjuster really can't do too much on forcing the insurance company's hands. It was the attorney. So, for example, Hurricane Ian happened. I had about $35,000 worth of damage on my property. If I was to represent myself as a public adjuster, I could get that. Now, I couldn't. So that means I'm now hiring an attorney, and the attorney's looking at the claim saying, I can get you probably $120,000. And I'm like, but I only have $35,000 worth of damage. But if you say you can get this, fuck the insurance company. That's how I now see it. And if I now see it like that, so do 2.5 million other people that were impacted by Hurricane Ian. And now you've got a bunch of these attorneys that are now suing the fuck out of the insurance companies for obscene amount of money. So some bills that were recently passed basically made it so if you were to sue the insurance company, the attorney fees can no longer be added to the claim. So, for example, insurance attorney fees are about 10%. So you have a $100,000 claim, $10,000 of that is now added onto the claim to go to the insurance company, to go to the attorney to pay their fees. Now they just passed a bill that says if you have $100,000 worth of damage, $90,000 is going to you, $10,000 is now going to the attorney. So now the attorney fees are coming out of the claims. Sucks because now you're losing money that could be a part of it. So that's kind of an issue that I have on the insurance world. I have issues with the immigration policies put into place, and I fucking for sure have issues with the policies he's put into place for transgendered people and gay people. But that's something I don't know if you guys want to get.
Donor dollars. What's donor dollars? Fill me in.
Well, Ben, you had a talking point you want to talk about. I have a few if you want me to take over. It's up to you, bud.
Yeah, so donor dollars, lobbying in general is an almost American exclusive situation. In any other country, it's called fraud, or it's called corruption, embezzlement. Well, that's a whole nother part of it, absolutely. But it's considered corruption in most European countries. You're not allowed to accept money as a politician from large entities, businesses. Only in America can you go to a politician and be like, hey, I'm going to give you money, and then turn around after they take office and be like, hey, I need you to, remember that 50,000. I need you to make sure that these restrictions or these, like Norfolk Southern lobbied both Republicans and Democrats on both sides. They gave money to Donald Trump during his campaign, and he lowered the restrictions on chemical transport. And then when Biden took office, the railway workers wanted to strike for safer conditions, and Biden forced them to go back to work. So it's not a Republican or a Democrat issue; it's a bipartisan issue. I mean, you hear the saying, it's the left wing and the right wing on the same crooked bird, and you see it in the lobbying. I'll let Connery take it away because I'm sure he has some more points. I didn't really get any together, but it's something that's American exclusive, and I wholeheartedly am against it.
You're not wrong by any means. Norfolk Southern, yeah, the Biden administration screwed the pooch because he definitely saw the need for American workers to get back into the railroads, because let's be honest, the railroad industry supports the country. So he definitely said,
But it's
fuck it to the
extremely outdated too. We need to update that shit hardcore.
Yeah, and that's why the railroad workers went on strike. But do you guys remember Mercer? Robert Mercer?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
back in 2016, Mercer, who is a billionaire hedge fund manager, pumped millions into the Donald Trump campaign. But the Mercer's donation, the actual size of it, wasn't really the reason why people are raising eyebrows. It was because of his connection to Cambridge Analytica, the data analysis firm who's accused of harvesting Facebook data to influence voters. And now we all know, just recently, Facebook had to pay out $780 billion or $1 million?
Million.
784. Yeah, 784. I think it was it million? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was million.
Yeah, dollars, because
If we were in billion, that was going to be the largest suit of all time, because I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Volkswagen was only $5 billion for theirs, for their EPA violations.
Wait, that was a good time. I remember we were in the car business when that came through.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. Another one's the Koch brothers, Charles and David, infamous for their vast contributions to conservative causes and candidates. Their influence is so widespread that it sparked a discussion about the role of money in politics. Some people believe that such a massive donation undermined the democratic process, allowing a small number of wealthy individuals to wield disproportionate influence. That one, let's see. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's basically what I have on those two. I don't. Guys, we barely prepare. We do.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Going off of Mr. Mercer, not only was he questioned for his contributions to Donald Trump, but I think he donated like 11 million to what was that PAC, the super PAC that backed Cruz. I'm drawing a blank. But he donated 11 million to the super PAC that Make America. Make America #1. That's what it was.
What again?
America First, is that one? It was America First, wasn't it?
I thought it was no. I'm hold on one second.
Yeah, while he's looking that up, 15.5 million went to Trump's campaign in 2016.
The thing is it's not like it's a one-side thing. Like, obviously, Democrats are also getting money and funding from lobbies, so it's a both party problem.
Yeah, I mean, you have.
In 2008, there was Norman Hsu, a major Democratic fundraiser. He was accused of running the Ponzi scheme, and it ultimately led to his conviction. Despite donating large sums to various Democratic campaigns, including Hillary Clinton's, the controversy tarnished the campaign's association with him. But let's see. It was revealed he was running a Ponzi scheme. He was convicted of grand theft, fraud, and violating campaign finances laws in 2009. But all party... looking at the actual people that are accepting the money, that's a different story too. I mean, you've got people that donate money. They may be shitty, really shitty fucking people. But the people that are saying, okay, I'm going to allow, I don't think it's as easy as hopping on PayPal and saying, hey, I'm going to tip this guy $15.5 million because I want him to run. I'm pretty sure there's a process that's involved.
Politics, man. So there's you scratch my back, I scratch yours. That's the whole bullshit of it. No matter who it is and who's in office, no matter what, there's always someone else that wants something, and they're like, "Hey, remember that time?" It's just politics. It's snaky. I hate that shit.
So a lot of them won't donate the money directly, because obviously that's, you could point the finger directly at them. What they'll do is they create political action committees, right? PACs or super PACs, and these groups they'll take the money from, So I mean, one person donating 15 million is a a rare occurrence, but I'm sure you can find several people to donate $500,000. You get 40 wealthy individuals to donate $500,000, or 80 rich individuals to donate $500,000. That's $20 or $40 million. And it's not, a rare occurrence. Some of the largest institutions are doing it. I mean, I have the top 10 right here. If you want me, if it'd be cool if I went through them.
Let's hear them.
Number 10 is the NCTA, the Internet Television Association. During the last political cycle, they donated $15 8.46 million. Business Roundtable was number 9 at 17 million. Amazon has their own political action committee, and they donated about 18 million. It's, hey, listen, Daddy Bezos, man, what a guy. He gets everything he wants.
Bezos.
He looks good now. I give him that for still being bald. I thought with the amount of billions he has, he could at least fix his baldness.
I mean,
He looks good.
He could at least go to Turkey and get a hair transplant. Come on. So with Amazon donating that 18 million, they had no trouble getting the CARES Act passed, which, I mean, they received a ton of government funding because of it throughout the pandemic. And that's one thing you'll see is within one election cycle, they'll get that money back twofold, threefold, fivefold, even tenfold. I don't know if you're familiar with during the 2000 and 2001, KBR and Halliburton donated a ton of money to politicians, and they won a ton of government contracts. Nobody had seen a company donate that much money. It was in the 9 figures, and because of it, they received billions of dollars in government contracts to go to the Iraq War. You saw all these politicians talking about how war is imminent. They lobbied for war. We have to have this war. And they turned around and they were, it's the cost of the materials plus percentage. The more they spend on the materials, the more they make. America has politicians have no problem voting for these systems when these guys are making sure that they stay in power. These people are power hungry, and they'll do whatever it takes to stay in power.
Well, it's easy for them to line their pockets if they have control over the people that are in power.
Here's something interesting. Who do you think is number 7 on this list?
BlackRock.
Oh, that would be nuts. No, they do it in a little bit of a shiftier way. They use the companies that they own to lobby politicians, which they own pretty much any major corporation. They have at least 1 to 7% of any major corporation.
Yeah. Right.
But it was the American Medical Association.
Really?
When you think of medicine, you wouldn't think
Lobbying.
you wouldn't think of lobbying, but it's crazy. They made their money back, right? $19.27 million. You look at during the pandemic how much they received in government funding for a vaccine. It's absolutely nuts. And
I was going to say 80% of that is from what, insulin?
Oh, dude, probably. That's a whole nother subject. The thing that's crazy is, right, so like just shy of 20 million in a 4-year cycle, you could see a return of, like, take 2016 to 2020. How much do you think that the medical industry received for COVID? Just take your best guess.
Billions. It's in the billions. It's got to be in the billions.
Probably like
put a number on it.
I'm gonna say 25 billion.
No.
25 billion?
I'm gonna go high. 25.
Probably 1.5 billion.
1.5 billion, 25 billion. Both of you are so low. The amount total is $143 billion was dispersed according to the GAO and the HHS.
What?
That's it?
I know, pennies.
Yeah.
But imagine this: if you could, so let's dumb the numbers down, right? If I told you could donate $20,000 and you would receive $143 million in returns, would you do it?
Pull so many lines of credit.
Oh my gosh!
Like, take it all.
Exactly.
Put my house in the market.
You have what are the poor people doing today?
You have these entities, right? Like the military-industrial complex, which thrives on war, and you have the medical industry that thrives on pandemics. You have these systems in place that benefit from chaos. So if they can manufacture chaos, they're gonna do it, and that's the root of the problem.
I'm looking at the Democratic side. There's a report from Issue One, a Washington-based good government group. It analyzed a finance group compiled by the nonpartisan. Sorry, I'm a little tipsy. Nonpartisan research group, Center for Response Politics. It found that 12 mega donors accounted for 7.5% of the $45 billion donated to federal political campaigns between January 2009 and December 2020. Now, those are 7.5%. I do feel like that's quite low considering you just dropped that number. The combined contribution of these donors was $3.4 billion, a substantial amount in the context of federal election spending. The high level of influence by a small group of wealthy donors has definitely raised a concern about the state of democracy and the role in politics when it comes to money. Prime example of this is 2020.
We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. It's a form of a diplomatic, democratic system, but it's not a democracy. We are not.
Question for you. That $7 billion, is that in one election cycle?
No, it was 7.5% of 45 billion.
Okay.
From 2009 to 2020, December 2020.
Okay. So yeah, I think this was just the most recent election cycle. So I'm not sure if this is reflective of the previous election cycle, similar amounts. But I'm sure that there's similar. I mean, donors probably are pretty consistent. I mean, they've probably seen returns and they keep donating. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Number 6. If you had to guess who it was, I'm gonna give you a hint. It's tech. It's not Amazon.
Tech.
We just said them. It's tech.
Google.
No, Google's probably higher.
You think so?
Yeah, Microsoft maybe.
Tech. Norton Security. I don't know.
Social media.
Oh, Norton's
social media. Oh
Facebook.
shit! Is it Facebook?
It
It
is.
is Facebook.
Almost 19.7 million.
That makes sense, especially with how much they were involved with the TikTok ban.
Well, that makes sense though.
Even that,
Have you read that?
It's absurd. We went over in one of our TikTok or one of our posts or our podcasts. We talked about that bill. It's absurd.
It doesn't even mention TikTok.
No, it doesn't.
The goal is internet censorship.
Yeah. And yet you have Facebook, who has like Instagram and Snapchat and all these other ones, and you have YouTube and WhatsApp, all of them like trying to make TikTok the scapegoat in a sense. And it's like, guys, they're not coming for just TikTok. It's for all of you fuckers. You need to calm down.
We're coming for you fuckers.
That's how they get you.
It's crazy how you see these direct correlations between the donors and the problems we see in our society, right? Number 5, I was kind of stunned at because it's one entity, and I was just kind of like in awe that they donated more than the American Medical Association.
And it's one person or one company?
One company.
If you say Walmart, I'm gonna lose my shit.
No, so they're medical related.
Okay.
It's Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Oh, insurance company. Okay.
Health insurance premiums go up every single year. The quality of healthcare has gone. I mean, I remember when we were working in the car business, it wasn't hard for me to see a doctor. I could see them. I would talk to my doctor for a significant amount of time, 15, 20 minutes. My doctor sees me now for like maybe 60 seconds. Okay. Oh, these are your symptoms. Okay. This is what we're going to do. All right. Thank you. Bye. It's
well,
nuts how.
Even look when we were both, because we both worked in the medical sales industry for a little chunk of sliver of time, and the amount of times that I would talk with a doctor, and they'd be like, okay, I'd show them a new form to graft Coumadin and warfarin and stuff like this, and it's like normally we'd have lunches and make a whole deal about it, and you're like, you want to dine them, but obviously legislation stopped us from doing that, and it put an axe on that. Then it was like, all right, you got like 30 seconds of my time, like win me over now. And I hated that. I hated, like, I'm not trying to win you over. This is for the better shit, like the bettering of your patients. Just like read the brochure, you douchebag.
It was nuts. I completely forgot that we were medical. I completely forgot that we were medical reps. Oh my gosh,
it's been a while.
I did it for a hot second. Yeah. And I remember we were like, oh, this can save the patient's money, and it's a better way, like using a nebulizer to inspirate medication, right? It's a way more effective way than like an inhaler. It's way more effective. It just pays out less. And so we had such a problem convincing doctors that their patients needed this. And I was like, I was mind boggled when I got into that field, because I was like, this is good for the patient. Why doesn't a doctor want to do this?
Oh, it blows my mind. And I think the worst one is when you would go into an office, and this one I'll never forget. Like, a doctor goes to school on what average? It's like 6 to 10 years, right? I think you have to be in between there to get your doctorate. I had more than once, like at least 3 times, where I would go in and I'd explain this PLC program to control and track the Coumadin and warfarin patients that you have. And I was like, this is impressive. You can see it, you can track them, you can see how much, and then you have to dose. It's easy for you, it's easy for them. And then he looks right at me, he's like, so then how much do I dose my patient? I was like, bitch, I didn't go to school for 10 years. I'm just explaining the fucking PLC to you. Your job is to dose them, not mine.
That's over my fucking head. So you guys keep talking about what you're going to talk about. I broke my seal. I'm going to continue breaking said seal.
Are you going to go pee? You have to pee?
I have to piss, yeah.
I have to pee. Okay,
all
well, have
good.
a good
You
one,
guys
buddy.
keep- you
Drain
guys
your
keep
one-eyed
talking.
Leviathan.
Oh,
When I think of the medical, like just at least my experience, I'm sure that yours was similar. I thought about like all these, like one time I had a patient that needed a ventilator so badly she was gonna die if she didn't get a ventilator. But the BiPAP, I guess in her situation the BiPAP paid more.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we need to keep her on a BiPAP. And I was like,
Are you
oh my
kidding me?
goodness. No,
Yeah,
dude, seriously.
No, it happens all the time, and you're sitting there. And I think the worst one is when you go in, and you've probably dealt with this, the paperwork lineage, like the line that you have to follow.
Oh
and
my
the approval
gosh.
from the doctor in order for the insurance company to grant, that ventilator or that CPAP or that BiPAP. Like, oh, you have to do a Virtuox, and you have to do a night study. But then you do that night study, your insurance doesn't cover that, so they have to pay out of pocket.
Out of
before you're in.
pocket.
And it's like, guys, this is a bullshit. It's a loop around, and I mean, it's just fucking jerking you off the whole time.
It was nuts. I remember there was 2 instances where I had to go to a person's house and be like, hey, your health insurance, which they've been paying for decades, has denied you your this life-saving treatment. And I just remember like one time looking this lady's son in the eyes and telling him that, and just like tears like running down his face, like, and he goes, what are we paying insurance for? And I was just like,
I don't know.
Like
I don't know.
I wasn't even ready for that. When they told me, when he said that to me, I just sitting there like, what are you paying? What are you paying for this health insurance for?
It blew my mind because there was worse, and I'll never forget this man. His name was Leroy. And he had a tracheotomy done, and he has the fucking little tube that goes in and then the talking machine and shit. Nice guy, was an ex-vet, was a veteran, did it, super cool dude, like could play the fucking blues on a guitar, awesome guy. And this man was on a piece, like a internal ventilator for years, and it broke, and he needed a new one. So he came into us, redid the study with his doctor, and he was completely covered through Medicare and the VA. Well, they wanted a new study done so he could get this brand new ventilator, because their definition was it's no longer an invasive one, it's an exvasive, because it's hooking up to his tube. Yeah. These fuckers straight up denied him because of one of the tests that they did wasn't thorough enough, and they wanted him to redo it, but then his insurance didn't cover it, neither did VA, so he had to pay like $20,000 out of pocket in order to get this testing done. Like, are you kidding me? This is an ex-vet. This is a dude that's on his deathbed and lying from a fucking ventilator, and his broke, and you're just like, sorry guys, we can't give you a new one.
Did you see today? It was either today or yesterday. I'm back. Hey,
hi, how are you?
Doing good. You?
Good solid flow.
Dude, I can't believe. I think I might be diabetic from how many bubbles there are. Is that a thing?
Did you taste it?
It's sweet.
That's a real thing. If you taste it and it's sweet, that means that the sugar isn't being broken down in your body, and you are diabetic.
I heard,
or at least insulin resistant.
Do I have to taste it, or can somebody else taste it?
I mean, you could give it to Lauren if you want to.
I think I need Bear Grylls to taste my pee. He's an expert on it. But anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, VA. Did you see that because of the debt ceiling? There was a walkout from the Republicans because they're saying Biden won't cave in to cutting VA benefits. So they're like,
they're the party that loves and backs them. That's annoying.
Shortly after, people that have been receiving VA disability said, "Hey, you probably won't get a check this month."
That's nuts.
Nuts. And what's worse yet, and I was hearing this from an influencer, which, hey, I'm one now, but anyways, so he was like, he was like, I can't accept money from TikTok because if I'm shown that I'm having an external source of money coming in, the VA disability will go ahead and just disappear. I'll lose money, my living money, from taking in any other source of revenue. And he's like, but then I receive a fucking email this month that says I'm not going to be receiving my VA disability check this month, or there's a chance of it because and quote unquote and this guy's a Republican who's super pissed about it right now. He's like, I received it from the Republican Party, a committee that I follow. They're like, hey, there's a chance we're not going to receive it because the Democrats aren't being nice to us. And I'm like, you've got to be blowing my fucking mind. You managed to convince you managed to convince fucking children. And looking back, 18 years old, you're a fucking child. You managed to convince children to go to war, or not even to go to war, not knowing, you know, who we know, Paul, that are veterans like yourself. They're cleaning fucking toilets, they're cleaning the bridge, they're not really doing anything. And next thing you know, a bomb goes off and they have to be on disability, and now they can't fucking, all their friends are fucking killing themselves because they don't know what to do. They're on disability.
I've lost 6 in 4 years.
This guy said
suicide.
This guy said, I've lost so many friends that I don't even remember how many I've lost.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, dude.
Speaking of, you know, of the military industrial complex, if you had to guess how much the top 5 companies, which are Lockheed Martin, Boeing, General Dynamics, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman, last 5 years, from 2016 to 2021, how much do you think those 5 companies have given to politicians and political action committees in lobbying?
So if
250 billion.
6, yeah, I was gonna say you're more than that probably, because if the 6th person was it? Did you get it?
No, you said in 5 companies, quarter of a trillion, 5 companies, 5 years, 2016 to 21. You said quarter trillion.
What are you saying, Paul?
Is it bad that I still want to go higher? I want to go higher.
It's up to you. It's a free country, man.
750 billion. I don't know.
Ooh, Paul went just over.
Just over. Woo! I don't know. I'm happy about that.
Well, 700, just shy of $705 billion in just 5 years. And you know, speaking of war and stuff, and you know, we see what's going on in Ukraine, and they're just dumping money. You know, I think the last one they sent over 130 billion or 113 billion. I forget which one it is. It's over $100 billion worth of arms, right? You want to cut, you know, VA benefits. They want to cut Social Security. These are smaller fish. I don't know if you know this, but the Social Security program is less than $20 billion, right? And they want to make cuts to it. The VA is a fraction of 100 billion, right? And they want to make cuts to it. Why not make cuts? You know, why are we sending our money over there to fight these wars that
don't doesn't influence us?
Exactly. It doesn't make sense to me, at least. I don't know about you guys. That we're, you know, we have over 100 billion to give to these guys, but you know, John Smith that fought for this country can't, you know, get the mental health care that he needs to you know, make sure that he sees another day, or the VA benefits to make sure that he can have a roof over his head. He fought for this country.
I mean, I agree. And you'd think after a party that backed, you know, we support, you know, red, white, and blue, so patriotic, that they would at least back the VA. Like, they shouldn't make cuts to something that small, because they always are like, oh, you're a dickhead, you don't stand for the flag. Oh, you're a dickhead because you're not supporting our veterans. Motherfucker, at least help the VA. Like, help them. It literally took my uncle 8 months to get a scheduled appointment through the VA, or 6 months still. Like, it's ridiculous, man. Like, you shouldn't, if you're a vet and you have a specific doctor and you're through the VA, it shouldn't take you that long to get in and see them. That's absolutely absurd.
Yeah. My step-grandfather suffers from Crohn's, and he said I think out of like what, it's 26 feet is the length of your intestines. He's rocking like 1.5 feet now. He's had that much cut out. Dude's skinny as hell because nothing processes. It can't. But anyways, this guy had to wait 1.5 years to get seen by the VA.
Ridiculous.
Because of everything that's going. And he lives in Albuquerque. Well, he used to, but he said the Albuquerque VA was probably the fastest out of the other states that he's lived in.
Yeah, so you're not even seen that long. It's like, all right, you're in, bada bing, bada boom. Here's your test. I read them. You're good. Get out. Like, no, dude. They want to have someone that they can like, hey, I'm having these problems, or hey, this medication isn't working, or I'm still in pain. They need to have in-depth conversations with these doctors, and they're understaffed and underpaid at this point for all of them.
Do you think $1 billion, which is you and I, all three of us right now, if we were together, $1 billion sat on a table in front of us, we still couldn't imagine that, right? We couldn't.
No way.
Do you think $1 billion is enough to fund research into what explosions and constant gunshots and seeing somebody die in front of you because you're the one that killed them, you pulled the trigger, and their brain matter's all over the place?
Yeah, PTSD.
Yeah. Do you think that's enough to go into funding for research on the psychological effects that could go into what people experience and then justify?
We've done that. We have that. We have studies on PTSD effects from multiple wars, not just this recent Iraqi and Afghanistan war
and those
for the war on
studies
terror.
Obviously,
the
aren't
worst
enough to
one,
justify mental health care for VAs.
Believe it or not, the worst one that affected most men when they came back and they completely changed their not just their attitude but their persona was everyone returning from Korea.
Really,
more people and had the highest amount of PTSD was from people that returned from Korea, and that's the Boomer War. You know, those are the people that came back, and no offense, they weren't the greatest fathers. You know, they didn't want to be there. They didn't want to be involved. It is what it is. They saw some shit, man. Like, Korea was a bloody conflict is what we call it now. It's not even a war, which is annoying because during the time it was a war, but now Vietnam and Korea, they consider a conflict. So that took a lot of emotional toll on these guys that came back, and, you know, they got out of high school, they went straight to war, they did their time, they came back, and they feel like they missed a lot. And it's not just then, it's every war. You go, you do your serve, you do your time, you see some shit, you come back, and everything seems different. And they do studies on them psychologically. We've done studies with them taking psychedelics now. Colorado is a big factor. University of Colorado actually did a study where they took multi-generational people with PTSD from World War I, World War II, or not World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, Desert Storm, and the War on Terror. And they did a study with, you know, psychedelics and how it would affect them. And it was like 89 or it was just shy of 90% of the people that were involved in it said that has drastically changed their life forever, and that they no longer have night terrors, or that they, you know, their entire emotion or persona of life has changed.
It's a reset.
So I mean, that's a small school in the grand scheme of, you know, the NCAA or in schools in general, like Colorado. Most people didn't even know who it was until they're like, oh, Primetime's the coach there now. I'm gonna be a fan.
Shout out.
Have you seen the world's greatest beer run with Zac Efron?
Was Zac Efron? Wait, what?
It's called I think it's like the world's greatest beer run. Lauren and I watched it.
Oh, yes, where he went to Vietnam and brought beer to him.
Dude, that movie right there. And then at the
Zac
end,
Efron.
Where he acts as a CIA agent? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Dude, phenomenal fucking movie. And I honestly, like, you know, I think, yeah, Lauren's dad's a vet of Vietnam, and I saw something that they're like, hey, go ahead and just say, hey, welcome home to him, and that will spark up a conversation that kind of like cools him down. I said that to him, and the conversations I had with that man were profound. And then I saw that movie, and I was like, oh, fuck.
My dad was spit on.
I saw the video, like the actual footage that was taken of this guy while he was over there, and like he was like, yeah, this entire movie was based on actual events, like maybe a little bit exaggerated on like his process of getting to point A to point B, but everything happened. And I'm like, holy fuck. Didn't realize that.
Oh, Vietnam was, I have multiple friends of my father's, and then, you know, family members that served in Vietnam. And that's no joke. That's real war. Like, you know, we think of Afghanistan as like guerrilla tactics. Vietnam was the epitome of guerrilla tactics. You didn't see who the fuck you were shooting at, Connery. Could you imagine just like you're on a convoy, or you're on your patrol with your guys, you're going through the woods, and then you're just getting shot at. You can't see where it's even coming from. It's a whole different level of warfare. You not even know who you're shooting at. Or if you do try to get to make ground and move to the area of where they're at, they're in tunnels and gone already. So like it was a whole different warfare compared to what we were used to.
I'm going to have to pick my buddy's brain about the podcast he was listening to. I was in the car with him, and he was like, he's 73 years old. I don't know what war he was a part of, but he said
73. It was Vietnam era because my
Oh,
dad
70
was passed away at
No,
74.
Joey
and he was
Diaz.
Vietnam.
Joey Diaz was born in 73. The guy that
My
and I
hero.
was like, oh, this guy sounds a lot like Joey Diaz, and he was like, oh no, he's like 10 years older or something like that. But he was like, during the interview, it was a multi-part segment on the podcast, like 5 or 6 episodes. This guy was on there talking, and he was like, yeah, the bullets, I didn't know it was bullets. I thought it was bees buzzing by my head, and I started freaking out because I'm fucking allergic to bees, is what he was saying. And he was like, those aren't bees, fucking hit the deck, those are bullets.
Yeah.
And he was like, I didn't fucking know. I couldn't see that people were firing at me. He's like, bullets were flying at me. He was like, I thought it was fucking bees. And I was like, imagine, I'm allergic to fucking bees. Imagine me getting shot at. I'm like,
Bees!
I don't have my EpiPen on me.
I just think of Tommy Boy. All right, just get out and start yelling.
He was definitely in New York, and he had the fucking Joey Diaz accent to him, and he sounded like a fucking thug. But man, I have to figure out what that was. But
regardless, in general, war is just an ugly thing for anyone to go through. So I mean, I see both sides. I see where people are like, we have to go over there because people are in problems. It's like, I get that, but like, we've done that enough. Like, we shouldn't have been in Korea. We were. We shouldn't have been in Vietnam. We were. We shouldn't have been in Desert Storm. We were. We shouldn't have been in Afghanistan, this shit, but we were. And we were all under the flag of we're doing it for better and doing it for people. But even then, at the end of the day, like, I have stories of buddies that would like go out in the streets when they were in, Bagram and playing soccer with these kids, playing soccer out in the streets, getting to know them, getting to know their name. And then, weeks later, they're the ones running in with a fucking grenade strapped to them, or, that's something that's traumatically, you can't imagine that. None of us have gone through that. Like, you imagine making a friend with a 13-year-old and then 2 weeks later he's trying to kill you. That's something that you can't fathom unless you're in that situation.
I think that's what they call fatherhood at this point.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and lighten the mood. I've got a question for you, Ben.
And I got an answer for you.
So now that you've lived in California for 2 years, away from Ohio, you have a point of view now that you can think about Ohioans and judge them, and you could be walking down the street and be like, that fucker's from Ohio, right?
It's funny that you say that. I met a couple. I was at Newport Beach like 2 months ago, and I was playing pool at like one of the pool halls down there, and I saw these guys, and I was like, "There's no way." Like, I just looked at them and the way they were talking, and I was like,
They're Midwestern as fuck.
Not even. I was like, these guys are either from Columbus or Cleveland.
Holy shit, that's specific.
I was like, these guys are either from Central Ohio or Northeast Ohio. And so I played a game with them, and I was talking to them, and one of them like scratched, and he like shot the cue ball over the off the like rails, and he goes, "Oh," and I was like,
Did you ask him? You're like,
all right. I was like, hey man, weird question. You guys aren't from California, are you? He goes, no. I was like, Midwest? He goes, yeah, Ohio. And I was like, where at in Ohio? Yeah, they're just northwest of Akron, in a city called Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I was like, yep. And he's like, how'd you know? And I was like, I spent like a decade and a half in Ohio. I in Ohio, and when you see them, I've had a couple situations like that. It's funny because like people out here, it sounds crazy, but you kind of like stick with who who knows your style.
So that being said, you said you could hear it. So is it true then? Because like obviously most of us here in Ohio, we're like, we don't have an accent. Do we have an accent, Ben?
Yeah, you do.
Oh man, it's not heavy, but there you can tell when someone, at least from the Midwest, but like Ohio, you have to have a trained. I have a trained ear. I'm a connoisseur of the Ohio accent, so I know I know it when I hear it. It's not like heavy, but it's there.
What's so? I live in Florida, which means I definitely have some Florida man stories. I've seen some Florida man shit.
You are a Florida man now? Fuck off.
I've ridden an alligator. I've killed them. I've not done
go fishing. You survived a hurricane and did hurricane parties.
No, it wasn't
with
a hurricane.
Your newborn child.
It wasn't a hurricane. It was
Did you lose a hand?
It was the hardest hurricane to ever hit the country, and I stayed during it because I'm a dumbass. With
You understand, Ben, that I was on the phone with this man. He's like, "No, we're not leaving," and I yelled at him. I yelled at this man on the phone. I said, "How dare you stay down there? And you have a child that's not even like 4 months old." Like,
1 month.
Like 1 month old. I was like, "You need to get the fuck out of that state," and he did not.
I know it's not that I could. It's gas was out and traffic. You couldn't get out of where I was living. I panicked. I was like, "There's no way I can go."
Here's why I believe Connery stayed. Like, if you told me Connery stayed during the worst hurricane in Florida's history, I'd be like, I wholeheartedly believe that, because I remember in the car business, Connery about near pooped himself. I don't know if you remember this.
He did. He shit himself. I already know where you're getting at.
This man went on to sell 2 cars that day. Threw them that underwear in the toilet. Listen, you can say what you want about this man. This man, first and foremost, is a breadwinner. Okay, this man gets the job done. I would, if I had a company and Connery was like, "Hey, I need a job," I wouldn't even interview him. He's hired. This man gets the job done. I'm sure if you working in a or correct me if I'm wrong, you work in roofing, correct? No,
marketing in the roofing industry. Yeah,
my apologies.
No, you're good.
If mid hurricane, eye of the storm, I could see this. If you told me this man went out and knocked on doors and offered estimates, I'd believe you.
I'd believe you. I texted real quickly. I texted my neighbors. I was like, "Hey, how's your roof doing?"
He's over there airdropping to his neighbors. He's like, "We do instant quotes." I wholeheartedly believe. Listen, he gets the job done. He's got the American spirit. All right.
Well, going back, we'll end it on this. I need to know.
Sorry, I didn't mean to expose that.
What is
fucking hilarious?
The shit. I had to cut off my underwear.
No, we've talked about it. This man has shit himself in the car industry 3 times in front of me. 3 times he has pooped.
It's impressive.
Including one time where he ate a burrito and then chugged a whole gallon of water and had to go to the hospital and then shit for 3 days straight.
That burrito was called the Big OH, and it was
from Victor's Tacos.
From Victor's Tacos. I've had it. God, dog, that's a big burrito.
It was a 5-pound burrito, but it was also during my time I was drinking water. And people call me the fish because I can chug. And I don't mean to. It's like a chug for most people is a few sips. A few sips for me is a half a bottle, right? Mm-hmm. So anyways, I ate that entire fucking burrito, but I also drank a gallon of water on top of it. And mind you, 75% of that burrito is rice.
To give you an idea, before this man ate this man ate this burrito, he put it in his arms like a child and went like this. So like it's a full on arm. Like
I've had the Big Ohio burrito. I have to split it. That's like even when I was fat. Okay. Yeah. Or sorry, plus sized. Gotta be PC here.
Yeah. Gotta be PC.
Oh, don't get me started on. Listen. California's a really interesting place. We'll talk about that later. Anyway,
again, for damn sure, because we have so many questions.
I gotta know about California man. Is there such thing as a California man?
There is, but I can't describe him without identifying an ethnic group. There is an ethnic group that the California man belongs to.
Really?
His socks are high, and he talks like this.
Oh no!
He's like, where you from, fucker? Anyway,
you just did it.
Nailed it. If you're assuming what Ben just said, guys,
you're racist. You're racist. Anyway, no, the Big Ohio burrito. Was that what we were talking about? The Big Ohio burrito is massive. I remember being fat as fuck, and I was like, I can't finish. This is nuts. I'd split it with. I had a friend named Kiana. We would buy one and we would split it because it was just like nuts, dude. And then they ladle on that sauce. Dude, you could have that burrito for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Throw a couple eggs on it in the morning.
That's why the LGBTQ
myself.
They love you, Connery, because they just imagine you slurping this thing down. Like you ate it with no problem. When I mean this man could probably be in a food eating competition, I'm willing to bet my paycheck on it. He could do and be like successful easily. You'd probably practice for 3 days, and you end up beating fucking what's his name in the hot dog competition.
Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut ain't got shit on you, bro. I guarantee it.
All right. Let's call him out. If you guys want me to eat, I'll fucking eat.
Dude, we can have a hot dog eating contest. I'll go to Costco right now and grab some of those franks.
Hear me out. We open an OnlyFans. and all it is just you eating glizzies, like just straight up glizzies the whole time.
I would pay to see that. I really
Call
would.
me, call me the Weenie Houdini, dude. I'm gonna. You won't even see those dogs go down.
I'll tell you what I would like to see. You guys know who Big Chugs is?
Yeah, I know
Like
Big
that
Chuck.
guy. I would love to see
Yeah.
Connery and Big Chugs go up, gallon of water. Who downs it faster?
It's hat, bub.
I'll fucking chug that bitch. That
Oh,
won't even be a chug. I'll just open it up. I'll just
TikTok influencer chug off. You've been called out. We're about to snip this and put this on TikTok, bitch.
Jesus. All right, guys, gals, theys, and thems. Thank you so much for listening to Drunk Discussion Podcast. If you guys enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it to your friends. You guys can find us wherever podcasts can be found. Be sure to check out our merch, guys. We drop it something new every month or two. I don't know. This was
We're
the
dropping a
first episode.
G-string next month.
Yeah.
We actually have those up. It's Baby Yoda right on the crack, which isn't saying much because it's the size of a string. But guys, we thank you so much for listening to Drunk Discussion Podcast. With that being said, peace.
Peace.